Yo, yo, yo. So, this is a video I've been thinking about working on for a while, and I finally pulled the trigger. Anybody who knows me probably knows that I really like acquisition, and you can just scroll through my YouTube and find a million acquisition videos. A lot of people, when they think about solos, they just think about bosses, or that's the first thing that comes to mind, but the truth of the matter is that a lot of boss solos just aren't that fun, at least in my opinion. And acquisition just has a lot of depth to it, which makes up for the fact that you're kind of just killing ads the entire time. Every run is different, and there's a lot to think about. So, hopefully, with this video, I'm able to smooth the learning process for some people. Maybe I inspire some people to run the encounter, or maybe just people like to hear about everything that goes into learning a solo and getting consistent at it. Going along with that, I want to touch on something that I see affect a lot of people's mindset when they're learning solos, and that's blaming the game and RNG. You see this not so much in acquisition anymore, but with encounters like Atrax, Caretaker, Nez, it's not the game's fault when you wipe 99.99% of the time. It doesn't do you any good to blame the game every time you wipe. Just try your best to reflect on what you did wrong and improve on it next time. If you just blame the game every single time you die, then you're going to take a lot longer to actually improve because you don't know what you did wrong. You just say, oh, the game is bad. The game can be bad, it has its moments, but you'll have a lot more fun learning an encounter if you're actually feeling yourself improve and you stop making mistakes that you made when you were first learning. So, anyway, we'll get into actually talking about the encounter now. Before we get into anything, I want to briefly break down the solo so that you know what I'm talking about in the rest of the sections. So first of all, there's the three important enemies you have to know. There's the adherents. These are the little dudes with the shields. They shoot the obelisk, they don't really care about you that much, and they're what's actually going to wipe you. When the obelisk is full, you're going to wipe. There's the knights. They are what gives you the room call on the totems, and there's 3 of them per round. There's also the glyph keepers, of which there are 2 in each room, and they give you the symbols, but don't worry about collecting the symbols, just kill the glyph keepers and get out. I'll explain that later in the video. So the totems are the little pillars with the 3 plaques on them. They give you all your information, like which side a knight is on, and which room you have to go into. And then there's the obelisk, which you don't have to really worry about doing anything with until the input phase. That's what's going to wipe you. They'll have a glow, and when it reaches the top of the obelisk, you wipe. So the general flow of the encounter you're looking for is you're going to be starting at the top of Bone, and you're going to shoot the adherents. You'll kill 1 wave, you'll find and kill the first knight, then you'll kill the second wave of adherents, and then you'll go into the room, kill 2 glyph keepers, and repeat that 2 more times. And then you'll go into the input phase and shoot the obelisk, all the 3 correct symbols on the obelisk. There are 2 messages that are really important in this encounter. The first is an obelisk is under attack. This just means that adherents just made it to your obelisk and just started shooting, basically. An obelisk sustains damage is not a message you want to see. That means the adherents have been at the obelisk for a while and they need to die. 2 other important things to know about the encounter are all of the knight spawns and the doors of the encounter. So we'll start with the knight spawns. There's 2 sides of the encounter, Pyramid and Traveler. And so we'll start with all the Traveler Knights. So the first one is here, behind this wall. The second one is over here. I call this gap. There's this one behind this big wall up here. He spawns on that platform. There's this guy at stairs. And there's this guy back here. For the pyramid side, it's basically mirrored. We have one guy who spawns back here, another guy who spawns at these pillars, one guy spawns up here behind this structure, we have one guy who spawns behind this wall, and the last guy spawns right here. So for the doors of the encounter, everything on Traveler's side, starting from Worship and going to Drink, starts the encounter open. These are all the Traveler side doors. So we have Worship, then we have Kill, then Commune, and lastly Drink. Those all start open, and the crux is what opens and closes the doors. They are all tied together. So if Drink is open, then Worship is open. Then we have the pyramid doors, starting with Enter. And then we have Give. Then we have Grief down there. And Stop and Brain. Everything on this side from Brain to Enter all start closed, and same thing as Traveler, they're all tied together, so if Brain is closed, that means Enter is closed, and vice versa. When it comes to choosing the class you want to run on, I would recommend Warlock. I believe it's the best. Titan is also really close, and there are lots of people who believe it's stronger, and they're not necessarily wrong. I just like Warlock the most. And Hunter is the weakest in my opinion. The encounter doesn't really change a ton depending on what class you choose, just your method of killing the Glyph Keepers mainly, and maybe some other quality of life stuff. So the reason I think Warlock is best is because you have Icarus Dash, Burst Glide, and 2 Panic Buttons. You also have Well Skating. Basically, Warlock just has the fastest movement, so getting around the encounter is the easiest on Warlock. You have the most options and the most speed. So Titan's benefits over Warlock is you can use Ariana's if you want. It's the only class I would recommend that on, and the benefit of Ariana's is not having to use surges on your dead messenger to kill adherents. It also is less reliant on special ammo if that's something you struggle with, because you can use your nades to kill pretty much everything, all the adherents. Its downside is that it has slightly slower movement than Warlock, because it doesn't have Icarus Dash or Well Skating, anything like that. They both can kill Glyph Keepers really fast. They both have good options for unstops. It doesn't really matter what you choose. If you're more comfortable on one class, I would choose the class you're more comfortable on. And for Hunter, it just has the worst survivability. It, I would say, has probably the slowest killing of Glyph Keepers. And its jump just isn't as... It doesn't work as well in the encounter, because Acquisition focuses a lot on horizontal speed. You need to go from point A to point B horizontally. There's not a whole lot of use for vertical movement, which is mainly what Hunter's jump focuses on. Strafe is an option, but it has its own downsides that I'll talk about later in the Hunter section. Starting with Warlock, I want to quickly go over why we choose the things we do. I'm not going to do this for the other classes for the most part, because the mods mostly stay the same. It's just the subclass that changes. So on Warlock, on every class, we're going to use Hung Jury, Dead Messenger, and Other Half, or any Eager Sword. That's just the one I have crafted. Hung Jury is just, this can be any shoot loot explosive weapon. It's just for keeping surges up for Dead Messenger, which you need surges for Dead Messenger to one-tap the adherents. This is also nice for just shooting ammo, but it's mostly for picking up orbs. You also want to have a preferably lightweight SMG, but any full auto weapon with like high fire rate. I use this one because it has overflow, and the lightweight is nice for moving around the obelisk. This is just for inputting. Eager is pretty self-explanatory. We need to move around fast. So on the head, we use a solar siphon. This is a harmonic siphon because we're on solar, but It can also be a solar siphon, it doesn't matter. You just need a good way to make orbs. The 2 finders might seem weird because we're using a special weapon for all our kills, but they will proc, and they help your ammo economy. Shield break charge is for, again, another way to get armor charge for keeping up surges. The glyph keepers have solar shields, and we're using solar nades to kill them, so works out pretty well. Firepower is just another way to make orbs, keep up surges. 2 arc resist and to charge it up. The 2 arc resists are because the only enemies who really do damage in this encounter are the unstops, which are abominations, so they do arc damage. Charged up is because we are using surges and we also need to do special finis throughout the encounter, so 4 charges just makes our surges last way longer, and if we need to do special finishers, which you will need to do, they only take 3 charges, so you have 4, so you still have 1 armor charge left over for surges. On the boots, we have a surge, because you only need 1 surge for Dead Messenger to 1-tap the adherence. We have a Void Scav, that can be replaced with a Solar Scav, or literally any other mod you want. That's just what I use. Stacks on stacks, again, it just makes keeping surges up earlier. Also, you need less orbs to get special finishers. Then the class item, we have Bomber, which is useless. You can replace that with anything. If you have space, put a second time dilation, it doesn't matter. Special finisher, we're going to need to keep our ammo up, which is not enough to rely on finders and the natural drops, and time dilation just helps keep surges up easier. We also use 4 pieces of raid armor. You only need 1, I believe, on each class. So if you were on Warlock and you only had 1, use Into the Light. But we use 3 Into the Light so our nades recharge faster, and to make them actually do the damage needed to kill Glyph Keepers and Unstops. And then we have 1 Siphon Glyph Keeper. This, if you don't know, works on adherence, even though it says it only works on Glyph Keepers. It gives you Grenade, Class, and Super Energy. This isn't necessary, and it will leave Unstops 1 HP if you're using 1 Siphon Glyph Keeper, but I like having the more nade energy, and it's also nice if I have to pop Super for a panic button. You can get it back a lot faster. So moving on to the subclass, I use Well, don't use Daybreak. You can use Song of Flame. So Well is just good as a panic button, and you can also Well skate around. I wouldn't overuse Well skating, but it's something to keep in mind if you need to. And Song of Flame is a nice alternative if you want it for inputting. So there's going to be unstops camping your obelisks when you're inputting, and normally you'd really only have your snaps since you're swapping to a different gun, so you won't have your unstop probably. So this is just nice. You can just spam snaps and kill all the unstops around you. It also kind of works as a panic button because it is 90% DR, but yeah, I recommend Well. Phoenix Dive is pretty obvious. These 2 are just too slow. You might as well have the healing from this. It's quick if you need it. It's a good panic button. Burst Glide, I mean, these other 2 jumps are just bad. We're not using Heat Rises or Daybreak, so Strafe is just bad. We need to get around fast. Snap is just better than Celestial Fire because you can use this for unstops. It's a good panic button. This doesn't really do anything. And Fusion Nades were on Starfire, so having 2 nades is just a lot better. There's nothing else to use. Touch of Flame is so our nades actually kill things like Glyph Keepers and Unstops. They wouldn't otherwise. And Icarus Dash is just to get around faster. These other 2 aspects don't really do anything in this encounter. Fragments, Singeing is useless. You can replace this with anything. We're already getting so much class ability energy from Siphon Glyph Keeper, so replace this with whatever you want. You can use Torches. It's probably the main one I'd recommend. If you run out of surges, you can melee something and get Radiant, so that your Dead Messenger 1-taps. Mercy, we are making Fire Sprites with this. It can be nice to pick them up and just get a little health boost. The 10 Resil doesn't hurt. Searing, the snaps, like I said, are good for stunning unstops quickly if you need it, so you might as well just get more. There's not a ton of fragments that are actually useful in this encounter, so you might as well. And Ember Resolve, your solar nades cure you, so it just helps topping up your health because you're using your nades to kill so many different things. Now on Warlock, we do use Starfire as I mentioned. There's just no other exotic that really does anything. T-Steps and Rain of Fire people have used in the past, but they don't really do anything. Starfire saves you the most time because you can use your nades for pretty much everything. Knights, Glyph Keepers, and Unstops. The main thing is Glyph Keepers. There's 2 Glyph Keepers in each room and you need to kill both. So this is just the fastest way to deal with them. The reload from these just isn't worth it, and the move speed from T-Steps really doesn't do a whole lot. Everything else is kind of useless. Everything on Titan is basically the same as Warlock. The biggest differences are Ashen Wake, because we obviously can't use Starfire. If you don't know, Ashen Wake refunds fusion grenade energy on kill, and you get a full refund if you kill 2 orange bars or 1 yellow bar. So Glyph Keepers and Unstops are yellow bars, and Adherents are orange bars. So you just kill both Adherents, you get a full refund, or you kill any Glyph Keeper, you get a full refund. It also makes them explode on impact, which is nice, and they also stun Unstops, which can be nice. Even if you have ×3 roaring, it won't fully kill an Unstop from full HP, but it's still good to know. Everything is the same. If you want an explanation on why I choose everything, you can look at the Warlock part. I'm not going to do that here. For raid mods, the only difference is I don't run a Siphon Glyph Keeper on Titan. I just run 4 into the light, because you get your nade energy back from Ashen. Going to the subclass itself, both supers are useless. If you pop them, you should only pop them as a panic button if you really, really need to. You should really avoid popping them at all costs because you can't use Eager and you'll just be really slow in them. The reason I use Hammer over Burning Maul is just because if I'm in a room and miss my fusion grenade for whatever reason, I can just pop this and kill the Glyph Keepers, but that's really not ideal because again, you'll just be really slow. Neither of the barricades really matter. I use Towering because it can save your life, but you really shouldn't be popping them. It's just a waste of time. Strafe, Lift, this doesn't matter. The only one you shouldn't use is High Lift. I would actually recommend Catapult, but if you're more comfortable with Strafe, it's more than fine. Mini Hammer is good for, so in the rooms, the Glyph Keepers can move around and dodge your nades, so you can use this to stagger them really quick. You can also use it to weaken the Glyph Keepers if you go in with no roaring stacks. And Hammer Strike just doesn't really do anything. This also has Refreshable Radiant if you need, if you run out of surges, you can just get Radiant really quick. It also goes through Adherent's shields, so you can use it to quickly kill an Adherent if you're in that situation. And then Fusion Aid, we're on Ashen Wake. These are all kind of useless. Soul Invictus, Consecration is useless, so you might as well use this. When you kill a knight, which you're going to be using your nades for, you don't get a full refund since they're only a orange bar. So you can just go and stand in the sunspot and get your nade back a little quicker. That's not necessary. The healing is also nice from this, if you need it. Roaring Flames is necessary to one-shot Unstops, and having ×1 or having any stacks of this just makes killing the Glyph Keepers a lot more comfortable. If you have ×0, you have to direct impact them. I think same with ×1. Don't quote me on that, but it just makes everything a lot more comfortable. And again, Consecration just doesn't do anything here. Radiant, this is the only one I use different from Warlock. It's just your class ability is useless, so you might as well use torches in case you run out of surges. Same as Warlock. 10 Resil is nice. You are making fire sprites, and the restoration can be nice. It loses a little value because of Soul Invictus, but whatever. There's nothing else to use. Again, just healing is always good. You're using your nades so often on Titan that you'll be getting a lot of healing and basically always be full HP. Searing, this is just how you make fire sprites. Again, there's nothing else to use, so you might as well use this. And maybe you miss your hammer and you want it back, so that gives it back to you. On Titan specifically, you don't have to use Dead Messenger. you can actually use Ariana's. I personally don't like it, but if you really hate dealing with surges, this is the option. You kind of change your playstyle a bit. So on Titan, it is better to use your Ashen Wake for most of your adherent killing, just to save ammo and keep your roaring stacks up. But on Ariana's, you really want to be focusing on using your nades for almost all adherents, as long as they're close enough that you can get the full refund. And Ariana's will basically just be a backup if the adherents are super spread out. You can also use it for killing knights. It's kind of whatever at that, but that's an option. Again, I do prefer Dead Messenger, but if you hate surges, Ariana's can be used. Moving on to Hunter, this is the only class we don't use Solar for. We actually use Prismatic. Same thing with Titan. I'm not going to explain the decision behind every mod since it's all basically the same. The only difference being we don't use Shield Break Charge since we have no Solar to proc it on the Glyph Keepers except this, which you don't want to be wasting ammo on that. For the exotic, we use Stompies. There's nothing else to use. Everything else is kind of useless. We solve all of the problems that need to be solved in the encounter with just the subclass and our guns. So you might as well get the extra move speed, and mainly it's the jump height. It allows you to just get around a lot faster, which is important in this encounter. So these supers are all horrible, except for Storm's Edge. This is our main way of killing Glyph Keepers, and we are using, same as Warlock, a Siphon Glyph Keeper. This again works on adherence. So we get our super energy, we get our super for each time we go into a room. So this is just Storm's Edge one Glyph Keeper, Storm's Edge the other, and then Storm's Edge out. It's really fast. These either just take too long to kill or don't kill at all. Like Deadfall isn't going to kill both Glyph Keepers, and this is really slow. The dodge isn't a huge deal. I use this one because the melees are nice for getting Radiant, Invis, Healing, and they can stun unstopped if you have both charges. So just having more of them is always good. The reload dodge, you're not really on the ground that often, and the reloading doesn't take that long anyways. The Radiant dodge can be an option if you run out of surges, but we're using this anyways to get Radiant, so it doesn't really matter. I would just use this. You can use triple jump or strafe jump. High jump is just bad. I like the floatiness of triple jump. You can stay in the air for a really long time, but strafe is good. It's more horizontal movement, which is mostly what you want in this encounter. A lot of it, there's not a lot of vertical speed that you need, so this is good. Blink is fun, but I wouldn't recommend it. Unless you're really, really used to Blink, I would trade this aspect for Ascension if you feel like using Blink, but I would not recommend it. Withering Blade, it has 2 charges, so everything I mentioned with the getting Invis, getting Healing, and getting Radiant is good. It's also the only one that can stun unstops, so just use this one. The other ones don't have that same utility. And Grapple is what you'll be using to kill knights, which you can also use Magnetic Grenade for that, but Grapple can also be used outside of killing knights for the movement benefits. Threaded Spectre, this aspect really doesn't matter. The only one I wouldn't use is Gunpowder because it overrides your grenade ability, and sometimes you'll try to grapple and just end up throwing a Gunpowder, and that can be annoying. I just use this to distract unstops. Winter Shroud is probably the main one I'd recommend over it, but neither of them really do a ton. Now, Stylish actually does help a lot because you can use Invis for in a lot of situations. Hunter has a really bad survivability in general, so if you're ever low HP, you can just quickly throw a Withering Blade at any red bars and it'll kill them and you'll go Invis. You'll also get health back. Moving on to the fragments, this is how we get our health back mainly. If you're low HP, throw your melee and you will start regenerating HP and go Invis. This is just another way to get more melees back. We don't really get the grenade energy from this since we're not really using much darkness damage, but since our Dead Messenger is light, we are getting melee energy. This only lasts 5 seconds, but if you run out of surges and you need to kill adherents, throw your melee, get Radiant, and you'll one-tap them, then you can just pick up the orb they drop. This just helps with survivability. And this doesn't really do anything. I would replace this, honestly. You could maybe use this. It'll make your nades do more damage. Your Transcendence nades, that is. And it also gives you 10 mobility, which is kind of nice. There's really no reason to use this. As far as learning the encounter and getting consistent at the encounter, I think the most important piece of the puzzle is getting down the opener. So I'm going to show you how I do the opener. There's plenty of people who do it different than me, but since this is how I do it, this is what I'm going to recommend. So we start the encounter on top of bone. You can see the big bone on these two pillars. This is where we start. And very important to note is 20 seconds after I shoot this crux is when the first knight spawns. You really need to get down that 20-second number, because if you leave the bone too early, then you're going to miss knight spawns, and if you leave it too late, well, then you're just wasting time, because 30 seconds after the first wave of adherents spawns, the second wave of adherents is going to spawn. So you basically have about 10-15 seconds to kill the first knight. I say 15 because the first adherents spawn a couple seconds into the encounter. So 20 seconds and 30 seconds are really important to know. So we're going to start. We're just starting the encounter. And you're going to have to shoot these guys twice because you don't have surges rolling, and then you're going to grab the orb with shoot to loot. Perfect. Kill the mid guys and kill those guys. And I just grab that orb. So 20 seconds, it's about around now. I see that it's a pyramid knight there, but we're just going to pretend. In this run, I'm pretending I get the worst RNG possible so I can show you the full route. Obviously, if you see a pyramid knight on that right totem, you should just go right to pyramid side and just look at pyramid spawns. There's no reason to be checking all these traveler spawns. But since I'm pretending I didn't see that, I'm checking stairs, which is right here on traveler side, and I'm also checking back here beside commune. So then I turn around and I check this spawn beside brain over there, and then I check pillars. So here you can see him at pillars, but we're just, again, pretending he's not there. So then I swing over to left. So there is a spawn, a knight spawn at enter. I call that pyramid spawn. And it's a good idea to look over there when you're flying over here, but it's also not necessary since you're going to be checking it in a sec anyways. So then I read left totem. And also here is something super important. So here where I'm standing, you want to be staring at your radar. If there is a ping on the outer circle of this, then that means that your knight is hidden behind that wall here. I'll look at it in a sec. That wall back here behind this totem is a knight spawn, and he's really annoying. So you want to go a little kind of close to it and stare at your radar at the outer ring. If you see a ping, then he's there. Sometimes you might get baited by these red bars. That's why you take a few steps closer, because they won't normally hide back there. But going back there is just a huge waste of time, so don't physically go back there, just use your radar. I'm going to turn around and go mid. So there's a spawn to the right behind this black structure. So I'm also going to be staring at my radar here and looking for a ping. If it's there, then I know there's a knight there. Now here, this is what I was talking about. Over here, there is another knight spawn. I call that pyramid spawn, and you want to look at that. Now, I don't do it in this run. This isn't a perfect example, but you can also look to the left over here. There's another knight spawn. We do check it later, so it's not a huge deal if you don't. But just keep that in mind. There is a knight spawn over there, and it's not a bad idea to look at it. So then we're going to fly over here, and we're looking at mid totem here, and here it changes. So in this example, I would be pretending that it's here and it says Traveler, which is not what you want to see, but we're pretending it is. So we'll look at this totem really quick. It's not necessary since we've already checked the other two, and we're also just checking every spawn anyways. But it's a good idea because sometimes this will say pyramid and you'll have missed the pyramid spawn, because at this point we've checked every pyramid spawn, so then you'll know to turn around and check your pyramid spawns again. So here, again, we're reading radar. There is a night spawn. We'll go back a bit. There's a night spawn back here behind this thing. And again, just like hidden, this is just a waste of time to go and physically check. So I just read radar here and yeah, stare at that. So this is the night spawn over here I was telling you about that you should be looking from mid, but again, we're just checking it anyway, so it's not a huge deal. And then the last spawn is up here to the left. And at this point, you've checked every night spawn, and maybe about around here, probably, the next set of adherents is starting to spawn, but you're still making good time. You're still going to be ahead in the encounter. This is not a perfect example. Like I said, there are some mistakes, and it's a little slow. I might have left bone at not a great time, I'm not sure. I'm just going to let this play out. I'll try and explain it so you can see it in real time. We're just killing these guys. We grab surges. Kill those guys. Kill those guys. Try and do your best to kill everything in one shot. Grab surges really quick, and I'm staring at this totem. Again, we're pretending it's not. Checking all the spawns. Reading left totem and looking at radar. He's not there. Go mid, read totem. Look at radar. And then we just check these last two. And you're done. If you can get this opener down, really down pat, then you'll be in a really good spot. This first round is the only time when the night spawns 20 seconds later. So in the second and third round, you'll be able to go pretty much right away. Just at the start of the round, you can stare at right totem and then kill the adherents and be on your way right away. You don't have to do any waiting. But yeah, first round, really try and get this down and you'll be in a good spot. So if it was the worst RNG in this example and the knight was right here in front of me, I would just go mid, read the totem, and then play out the rest of the encounter, which I'll explain after, how you should do that optimally. Now we get into the actual thinking part of the encounter. You're not going to be able to make one decision and apply to every run. You're going to have to think about each run differently. And the first step of that is doing 2 waves per room. So this part is probably the least thinking intense part, but there's still decisions you're gonna have to make during the encounter. So you want to be doing 2 waves of adherence per room you go into. So the flow you're looking for the encounter is kill 1 wave of adherence, then kill the knight. You want to find and kill the knight. However, you have to do that looking at totems and stuff. Then you kill a second wave of adherence, and then you go into the room. Then you repeat that 2 more times per round. So then you would come out of the room, kill a wave, find and kill the knight, kill a wave, then go into the room. So the reason we do not 3 waves is because the time is just really tight if you try and do 3 waves. It is possible, and there are times when you should do it. This is where the thinking is needed, because it's not a set in stone rule that you have to do 2, but it's what you should be shooting for 95% of the time. So we don't do 3 because the time is tight. If you're not spawn killing every side of adherence and they get a couple shots per wave on the obelisk, then you're gonna wipe. You're just not gonna have enough time to do everything. The best time to probably do 3 waves is probably right at the beginning. That's where I see other people do it the most. That's just because you're starting up here, you have everything set up. You can just spawn kill all the adherents pretty much. But again, I would really try to shoot for 2 waves per room. We also don't do 1 because it's kind of just squandering the time you're given. So let's say you kill your 1 wave of adherence at the beginning, and then the knight spawns right there and you just kill him really quick. Then you could, let's say it was this totem, read this totem, and then just go into the room. But what's the point? When you come out of this room, you're still gonna have to kill the 2 waves of adherence probably. You might as well use the time you're given to check other things. So I do kill this knight really quick because he just spawns right there. And then I can use that time to do other things. So I'd probably come back here and read this, if it was this totem, read this totem to find a room. But then I would use the time to go check the other totems and check knight spawns. Since you're not going to wipe doing 2 waves and you were already so fast, you can probably spawn kill this next wave of adherence as well. So don't squander the time you're given by going in after 1 wave. The only time I would recommend going in after 1 wave is if you have all 3 of the knights dead. There's nothing to gain by staying out in the encounter and reading totems and stuff because you're done. You have all the rooms you need. You might as well just go in and save your ammo. Now, you shouldn't do that every time. If you were slow and the next wave of adherence is already spawning and they're going to attack, then just don't go into the room and just kill them. Do the 2 waves. It doesn't matter. The 1 wave is kind of a luxury, and it is better to play safe and just do the 2 waves if you think these adherents are going to end up attacking the obelisk, especially when you get to inputting. You don't want them to be attacking when you kill the final set of glyph keepers, because you want all the time in the world to be able to input. The next rule you should be thinking about in all of your runs is to always be looking at totems. Every time you're near a totem, check the totem unless you're 100% certain that totem is done. This is just an effort to prevent any backtracking, any unnecessary backtracking, because not all backtracking can be avoided, but this minimizes it as much as possible. So an example I like to give is, let's just say I'm coming out of give and I've done mid totem. Mid totem is done. It told me to go into give. So I would come out and kill these guys, and then I would just go left because it's right here. And I would kill these guys, and then I would come over here, and I would kill these guys. And now I'm done, so I look at this totem, and it has nothing. And I've done mid totem, so I know it's left totem. Let's go back there. And then it tells me, oh, I have a Traveler Knight. Okay, now I have to go all the way back here. And then I can start checking the spawns. I just wasted probably 5, maybe 10 seconds in a run just to backtracking for absolutely no reason. When I could have, just when I came out of give and came left side, if I killed these guys and just looked at the totem, I would have known, oh, it's a Traveler Knight, awesome. I can just go over here. Now, in an ideal world, you would have some information coming out of this door. Ideally, you want to, before going into a room, at least know which totem you have to check, or even better, you know which side already the next knight is on. So you want to path with that information in mind. So let's say I came into this room, instead of knowing nothing, I know I have a Traveler Knight already. So then I would path like this. I would kill mid, and then I would kill left, and then I would kill right. And instead, if I had a Pyramid Knight, I would just come out of give, and I would go right. Now you have 2 options. You can either go to right, or you can go to Crux. That's up to you. But yeah, I would kill right guys, and then I could come up here, kill these guys, and then I end up on Pyramid side. The goal is to try your best to end on the side that you want to be at. It just saves backtracking, again, which is just a waste of time. Now this isn't always going to be possible. Let's say I know I have a Traveler Knight, and I'm coming out of kill. Well, there's nothing I can do. Like, I'm on Traveler side, I'm not just going to not kill these guys if they're spawning. So I'm just going to go to Crux and try to minimize my backtracking. this is what makes Crux good, because it's right in the middle of the map, and I can see all of the places where adherents chill at, so I can just kill these guys from here, and then kill these guys from here, and then go back on my way and check the trapper spawns. So don't go all the way to left side in that case. You're still trying to minimize backtracking as much as possible, and Crux is a really good way to do that. Like I touched on, gathering information is super important, and the more information you have, the better decisions you can make. So the only information isn't just from totems. They are important, but it's not the only information you can get. You can also gain information just from looking at night spawns. So you want to keep your head on a swivel at all times. Some good spawns to check while you're just running around the encounter are any that are just like open. So you can see this spawn from a lot of places. You can see that spawn from a lot of places. You can see pillars. You can see that back spawn and that back spawn, and you can also sometimes, whenever you're over here, see that spawn. Now you can check other spawns as well while you're just running around going totem to totem. Like you can use your radar to check hidden from here. You can use your radar for house. You can also sometimes see house. Like from here, sometimes you can see house if you're coming out of give, which is the example I was using. So just always be looking around. If you're not actively shooting an adherent and you need to aim, then just look around. If you're moving from totem to totem, like I can just quickly look over there. Boom, that's a spawn checked. That's information I've gathered. And eventually you're just gonna see the night. It's not dumb luck if you see the night, because you're checking a million spawns. Now, kind of going along with this, if you do see the night, don't go out of your way to kill it if there's adherents alive shooting your obelisks. Like if I come out of give and I see the knight there, I'm not gonna kill these guys and then go over here, waste a bunch of time, nade this guy, and then go over there while these left and right guys are just wailing on my obelisk. Because that's what's actually gonna wipe you. Now there are times, like that's only if I'm like slow coming out of give. If I'm really fast and these guys are basically just spawning, sure, I might go over here and throw my nade. That's why you have to think about these decisions, and it's a run-by-run basis. It's not always bad to go and kill this guy before you kill the adherents, but in general, I would recommend coming back. And you are going to have to backtrack and come kill this guy if you choose to ignore him, but it's fine, because you know exactly where he is. So you can just go straight there. You kill these guys last, you just go straight there, and you're not really slow. If anything, you're still fast. It was kind of nice that he was here. So there are times when it is okay to backtrack, and that's one of them. Now, also going along with that, you shouldn't be Hail Marying your nades. If it's losing you any time, don't do that, because the gain is so little. It's such a minor amount of time to lose to go from here to here just straight away, because you already know where he is. So if you're losing any time to Hail Mary your nade, just don't do it. Now if I'm doing this, it's like whatever, like I lost no time doing that. But I also guarantee that nade didn't hit, so what was the point of doing it in the first place, you know? If you want to do it, whatever, it feels cool when it does hit, but I wouldn't really recommend it, because if you're losing any time to it, it was just completely worthless. And every little mistake you make does add up. The only full reset you get is at the end of each round. You might think, so killing the correct Glyph Keeper does reset the time on the obelisks, but you still have adherents spawning. You're still on that timer, so really trying to avoid little mistakes like Hail Marying your nades. Hail Marying your shots is a really bad one too. Just little mistakes add up, and that's what, so you should be focusing on these little things that seemingly don't matter, because they will wipe you eventually. A lot of wipes aren't one big mistake that you made, one big pathing mistake or something. Sometimes it is, but not always. A lot of times you'll see people wipe, they have no clue why. It's just because they did a lot of little things wrong. Maybe they missed like 2 dead messenger shots on these guys, and it was just enough to put it over the edge. Okay, so you've made it to the third symbol to the third room in the round. That's the final room. So what you're going to want to do when you go in is a little different than the first and second room. You want to kill one glyph keeper, then wait half a second or a second, whatever you feel like, and then kill the second glyph keeper. So you want to look above your super, all your abilities, and you're looking for the message, an obelisk awaits your offering. This is why we didn't have to memorize symbols in the rest of the encounter. It's because we only need the one symbol. So when you go in, like I said, you actually see me do something there. You don't want to shoot the obelisks with your hung jury or your Vulpecula or your Perseus, whatever you're using. It's just because they're all semi-auto, they all have explosive, which kind of feels weird sometimes. Basically, it's mostly the semi-auto thing. So you see me swap to a submission. I recommend any lightweight SMG because they're full auto, they have high fire rate, and because they're lightweight, they give you walking move speed. Now, walking move speed helps a lot when you're going around the obelisk and shooting the symbols. It just makes it a lot easier. I personally use submission because it has overflow, but use whatever you want. You can use Rufus's if you want. The important thing is that's full auto and high fire rate, but I would recommend a lightweight SMG. So now we're going to kill the first glyph keeper, and then we're going to wait half a second, and then we're going to kill the second guy. So at the bottom, you see above my chat, above my super, an obelisk awaits your offering. Now, this is why we delay, because you see the second guy is also dead. But this message gets super delayed after the guy's death, so it's actually going to be the first symbol here, which was Witch Queen. You can see it again right here. So the second guy actually probably died right when that message appeared, but it does end up being Witch Queen. So that's how you know the correct symbol. That just lets you figure out one, and I'll explain how to do the inputting with only one symbol. Now, if in the case that you accidentally kill these guys too fast, just memorize both the symbols and which side they're on. So here would be Worm Light and Witch Queen Dark. And then I would go to whichever totem told me to come into commune. That's the room we're in. And you would just read it. So here it would tell me Witch Queen, and then the bottom symbol would be Dark, so I know it's Witch Queen. Okay, so now how do you tell which obelisk is the correct obelisk if you only know one symbol? Well, to do that, you have to shoot only the correct symbol on the obelisk. So here, this is the same run, I'm only going to shoot Witch Queen. And the entire obelisk is going to glow. So this tells me that this is the wrong obelisk. If it was the correct obelisk, only that symbol would glow. But because the entire thing is glowing, I know it's the incorrect obelisk. So here's another thing. On the final room you go into, you see these adherents are not shooting the obelisk. They just don't care. That's because I got the correct symbol before they started shooting the obelisk. So you want to be looking above your super here, and if it ever says an obelisk is under attack or an obelisk sustains damage before you get an obelisk awaits your offering, that means they're going to keep attacking. But these guys were still probably way back at spawn when I got an obelisk awaits your offering, so they just never started shooting, so I can take all the time in the world. If they are shooting when you come out, which you should know when you're coming out because you should be looking down here, you should be killing all of these adherents at each side before checking. You can do them kind of at the same time if you're fast, but just focus on the adherents and don't take your time. But if they aren't shooting, you have all the time in the world. So I kill these guys and I'm going to check. I'm only going to shoot Witch Queen. And you see again, the entire obelisk is glowing. So this is the wrong obelisk again. So here I know it's left, so I'm going over there, and I'll shoot the correct symbol here to show you what it looks like when it's the correct obelisk. Boom. So again, it's only that symbol glowing, so this is the correct obelisk. Ignore this glow behind the symbols, that's just the timer of the obelisk filling up, and when it's full it wipes you, but only Witch Queen is glowing. So now I'll actually get into the method for inputting the symbols. So the first thing to do is make sure you're safe. I'm not particularly safe here, but before this I just killed the unstop behind me, I think. And I've already determined that this is the right obelisk, so I'm gonna shoot the correct symbol on this first side, and you see how I'm standing between the two sides? This first symbol should be like the hardest one to shoot. Just make sure you're in between the two sides so that you can be as fast as possible. And then I'm going to shoot that correct symbol, which is tower. In this case, this is a different run. And I'm going to go to the other two sides and spray the entire two sides. Every symbol. You want to make sure it's a really smooth motion, or else you might miss some symbols, and that would lead to a reject. This is probably the easiest method to learn, but it's also really easy to mess up if you're not used to inputting on the obelisk, so I'm not going to recommend you learn like this, but you should be aware that it's an option. So the method I'm actually going to recommend is this. So this is a little different. You shoot the correct symbol, and then you're going to move to the other side, shoot that entire side, and then you'll back up. So I'll show you that. Here it's tower. And you're looking for which symbol is glowing the brightest. So here, black heart is glowing brighter than the other two symbols. So now I know that that's the second correct symbol. So now I have black heart and tower. Usually at this point the obelisk will reject, but sometimes it won't. In this run it's not gonna reject. But I play and assume that it's gonna reject. All rejecting does is it scrambles the symbols on an obelisk. If it's the correct symbol, it'll keep the three correct symbols, but they'll be in different spots, and the other symbols might change, but they're not important. So I'm going to turn around and kill this unstop real quick. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand between the two sides again. I know I have tower and black heart. I'm kind of going to pre-aim black heart. I know I have to flick up there, and then I'm going to spray the entire third side, because I don't know the third correct symbol, but I know these first two. And boom. And there it would have been Earth as the final symbol in case it rejected. It's also easy to tell which symbol that is. I also want to mention that shooting the correct symbol first to figure out the second correct symbol isn't necessary, but to me it feels like you get more time before it rejects if the obelisk is gonna reject if you shoot the correct symbol first. So I would just always do that. It really doesn't take a lot of effort to do or waste much time, so I would just shoot the correct symbol first. Now the third method I'm going to recommend, I actually wouldn't recommend it if you're just starting out and learning, but it is something you can keep in mind. It essentially combines the first two methods of inputting, takes all their best parts, and makes it very easy. Now the reason I don't recommend it is because if you don't have a lot of time in the encounter, it's hard to focus on things that aren't moving around the obelisk fast or just shooting all the symbols in the first place. So you basically are just doing the first method. This is the same clip I used for the first method, but you pay attention to the symbols and which ones glow brightest. So in this run, the bottom one there is glowing brighter than the rest. I know it's love. And then here, it's fleet. So my three correct symbols are tower, love, and fleet. It doesn't actually reject here, it does accept. But if it were to reject, on the next attempt, I would know 100% that those are my three correct symbols and I could get it every time. even just knowing one other symbol makes it a lot easier. So if it just rejected right here, then I would at least know it's love, and I could just basically resort to the second method, shoot the 2 correct symbols, and then spray one final side. A couple things to add onto inputting is, especially when you have to come out and kill all your adherents and you're just checking the obelisks, it will reject on its own just after a bit of time has passed, so don't worry about that. Make sure you're looking at all 3 sides, because like I said, the obelisk does scramble when it gets rejected, so just, if you see the correct symbol on an obelisk, make sure you shoot it. You also, when you're inputting, don't want to stand too close to the obelisk, because you'll see here, it's really difficult for me to shoot that top symbol. If I'm trying to do it from here, it's probably going to hit the middle or the bottom symbol. So you want to take like a couple steps back, then do it. You also don't want to be standing too far, because the distance you have to travel to see all 3 sides is just much further the further you are from the obelisk. So try and stand, there's a nice middle ground, not too close, not too far. You also don't want to be flicking too fast. Like, I don't want to do this because I might not hit the middle symbol here, or I might just miss the top symbol if I'm doing it that fast. The registration on these obelisks isn't perfect, so just make it one solid motion. You'll also see me when I'm inputting, if I shoot the correct symbol here, I'm not going to go here to here unless I know that the bottom one there is the correct symbol. I'll just do one bottom to top. So if I'm starting top, I'll do top to bottom, and then I'll do bottom to top. When you finish inputting, the obelisk accepts. Some things you should be focusing on quickly. You need to kill all the adherents that were left alive. Any of them that you left. So like, say I come out of commune and this is the correct obelisk, I'm usually going to leave those other 2 alive unless they were shooting before. Then I would kill them first. But then after it accepts, I'm just going to go and kill those guys. I'm also going to look for special finishers. So some good people to look for special finishers on are the wraiths, which are the big red bars with like clubs, and they have 4 arms, I think, and they have like torches in their hands. So one dead messenger shot will get them finisherable. You can also look to kill any unstops that are alive. I would swap back to my hung jury, whatever my unstop gun is. I would swap back to that after I finish inputting and just try and kill any unstops that I can. And before the next round starts, you want to try your best to come back up on the bow. It's not necessary, but it helps. It is the best spot in the map, especially for starting each round. If you can't, like you're late, you take too long to do a million finishers, it is what it is. The spot I would recommend going is starting back there, but again, you can start from anywhere. Second and third round are easier than first round because the night spawns right away pretty much, as opposed to 20 seconds after the round starts. You should also try to have surges going into the next round just to make your life that much easier. I want to quickly go over some general tips for the encounter that might not have fit into other places, or just things that might bear repeating. A lot of this I've probably already said at some point. At the beginning of the round, you're going to be shooting these guys twice. So first of all, you want to make sure not every red bar dies. They shouldn't all die because the wraiths don't die to 2 shots unless you have surges, so that can apply to second and third round. Just try to make sure all the red bars don't die. In second and third round, you usually have dudes here, so that's not really an issue, but just don't kill all the red bars on a side. Also, sometimes your orb will just be missing and you can't see it, a lot of the time it's kind of like stuck in the stairs or under guys' bodies, or it'll be on the left side here. So just, you don't have to see the orb to get it. If you have explosives, just start shooting things and really try to shoot this side. If you can't find the orb just after a second or two, just give up and shoot these guys over here and kill them. Just grab their orb. Or if you can't see that orb, then just shoot these guys twice as well. It really doesn't matter as long as you're not leaving bone late. I've tried to mention how important finis are, special finishers are, a couple times, but it really is important to do as many as you can throughout the encounter. So some runs you'll have more downtime than others. That just depends on what nights you get, what rooms you get, what class you're on, things like that. Anytime you have time to spare, which you'll get a feel for as you play the encounter more, just try to do special finis. Look for wraiths and just shoot them once and then finisher them. Or you can shoot the ground next to red bars and then finisher them. Just whatever you need to do, but do not do finishers on glyph keepers. The effort it takes to get a glyph keeper in finisher range is too much and it wastes too much time. It's so much easier to just dead messenger a wraith and press the finisher button. You should be killing the glyph keepers with the methods that I told you before, nades on Warlock and Titan and super on Hunter. Just get them dead quick. Don't do finishers on them unless like it's absolutely mandatory, which I honestly can't think of a situation where that would be the case. Another thing to touch on, which I've alluded to throughout the video, is unstops. So you should be spending a lot of time at Crux. It's just a really good spot to see everywhere, all the adherents, where they end up at, and it's also right in the middle of the map, so you can have relatively easy access to every room. So because of that, the adherents from this side and this side, sometimes in mid, but pretty rarely, they'll congregate around here. So to deal with that, a lot of the time you want to stun them or kill them, do whatever you have to do. I think mid unstop is the least important to kill. I would recommend killing the unstops around here or just stunning them. Another thing you can do is break line of sight with them. So you can, if you need to kill these right side guys, you can hide behind this, play it however, wherever the unstop is, and then just shoot those guys. You can also come down here. This is best on Hunter, and you can shoot the adherents from here. Here is also, these hallways are also a really good spot to go if you're dying and there's unstops over here. They're not going to shoot you through here. So you can just come out here and kill those guys, or really nice is you can see that spawn from here. It's actually kind of crazy that that guy was there, but so you'll also want to be quick with killing glyph keepers. So this ties into the not doing finishers on them. Just really be quick with them. Use the methods that your class has, your super, your nades. Do not sword them, it's a waste of ammo, which heavy ammo shouldn't be an issue ever. But if you're sorting unstops or glyph keepers consistently, especially glyph keepers, because you kill so many of them throughout the run, you're going to run into issues eventually, and it's also just slow to sort them. They have a good chunk of health, and sorting them is just way too slow. On glyph keepers also is, this doesn't really apply to Hunter because you're using Storm's Edge, which has a pretty big radius, so it's hard to miss. But on Titan and Warlock, it's pretty important to not miss your nades. So when the glyph keepers are first spawning, they're going to be stun locked essentially. They're in their spawn animation, so they aren't going to be able to move. So make sure you throw your nades quickly at them, and if you're not quick, just be a little patient with them. I walk up to them personally and try and get them to melee. Sometimes they'll dodge, both of which they're locked in that animation, so you can throw your nade at them and kill them easily then. When you're walking around, when you're going around the encounter, unstops are going to be harassing you, and they are annoying. And sometimes if you let them keep harassing you, you can't deal with them for whatever reason, maybe you don't have time, you do not want to ego the damage they're doing to you. If you need to live, which you do, you always need to be alive because you're solo, just use whatever survivability you have. So on Warlock, use Phoenix Dive. You have it there for a reason. You have a million of them because you have Siphon Glyphkeeper. Use your well if it's necessary in the situation. Say you're getting beamed by 2 unstops over here, just pop well. Don't worry about not being able to well skate, it's just not important. On Titan, find some way to make a sunspot or throw your nade at something. And on Hunter, try and look for like melees or maybe. And on every subclass, you will hopefully have a way to stun the unstops. So even if it's not Hung Jury, if it's not Unstop Scout, maybe it's Unstop Hand Cannon, just stun them. However, on Hunter you can throw 2 melees at them. It will freeze them. On Titan you can throw your nade at them quickly, because Ashen Wake has inherent unstop. On Warlock you can use your snap on them. Whatever method you have to stun unstops, you should use if you need to. You need to be alive, because if you die, that's a wipe. So, some bad spots, because Dead Messenger is a waveframe, it does tend to get caught on geometry a lot. So some bad places that commonly mess people up are spots like this. It's hard to get it in there, but it'll happen by accident a lot of the time. Yeah, there it happened. You saw the wave didn't go in its normal direction, it stopped. It's hard to replicate it, but it'll happen in runs, so I would recommend trying to shoot it like closer to there, just more on flat surfaces. Mid can be really bad because the adherents take this path, so shooting on stairs is notoriously pretty clunky with waveframes. So I would try, if you're gonna shoot the stairs, shoot that flat area. Killing them up here is ideal, because that's all just a flat plateau that they run across. If you can't do it there, try and shoot the bottom of the stairs around here and just try and get the cone to go up. Do not shoot this ledge. Try your hardest. Shoot it further than you probably think you have to. Higher. Because it will get caught there. Here is a really good spot, just right there. They'll usually be standing like along here, and you can just shoot it right there and kill them both. If you're looking at them from this side, which is actually pretty rare, it's pretty... What is not pretty rare is if you're shooting from that side to hit these ledges, or like down here. This is pretty similar to what's on the right side. Your shots might get caught in there. And you'll... left side is not immune to this either. You'll be here at Crux and you'll be shooting, and sometimes it hits this little wooden ledge thing. So that's another one to be careful of. These stairs are bad. If you're coming out of Brain, let's say, and you have to kill these guys, these stairs can mess you up sometimes. Another thing is these boxes. It's honestly about a 50-50. It depends how close the adherent is to the box. If you shoot the wave and it hits the box, if you'll die. I would assume he doesn't. Like, it's just safer to play that way. So unless you see him die physically, then just assume he didn't. Over here, these boxes are taller, so you usually have to... The waveframe is kind of wide, so you can get the wave to hit them if they're standing behind here from that angle, but not always guaranteed. And these mid guys cooperate pretty well, so you can usually tell if they're dead or not. So going along with that, to tell if the adherents are actually dead without physically seeing them die, because sometimes it can be a bit of a waste of time to check if they died. Like this obelisk can block these guys on left a lot of the time. You can use damage numbers to actually see if they died or not. You can also use in above your super if you made an orb if they died. These aren't perfect because there's other adds along with them that you'll be getting damage numbers off of, or maybe they'll die and make an orb. So just be careful with that, but a pretty easy case is if you're killing these mid guys from over here, you can shoot like that and then turn around and then you'll look back. If you saw 2 damage numbers, there's not really any other red bars or anything that come over here unless they spawn with them, which doesn't happen that often. So you can tell that those guys are dead just by looking at the damage numbers. So with how important surges are in this encounter, it's really, really important that you just don't run out, because you'll see it a lot where people will do everything perfect. They'll be shooting their dead messenger shots and hitting the adherents, but they don't realize their surges ran out, so then they just have all of their adherents alive, and they just wipe because of that. So really, really keep a close eye on your surges. And if you're gonna run out, you should have a plan on either getting them back or a plan to kill the adherents some other way. So maybe that's throwing your melee and getting radiant off it. Or maybe it's on Titan, throwing your nade. Maybe on Warlock you have to throw your nade. Sometimes that happens. Maybe you have to snap. Things like that. Maybe you have to grapple melee. Just whatever it is. Maybe you sword them. Just have a plan if your surges are going to run out and you can't get them back. Just really keep an eye on your surges. So, I've touched on this, but you really, really don't want to be Hail Marying nades if it loses you any time. Your gain is so little from just throwing them across the map, and the risk is also not great. It's not super high, but it's just a waste of time and unnecessary to clearing it all. You just don't gain anything. This also applies to GL shots, which are usually worse. Like, you shouldn't be trying to kill right side, like, way from over here. Sometimes it's gonna hit, and that probably would have killed the guys over here. But it's best practice to just go a little closer and just kill them. Like, don't try and kill right side from here. It's probably not going to work. Just go here and kill them from here. If the difference of you wiping is going to be going from here to eager edging over here, then it means you definitely messed up before that. So the adherents spawn every 30 seconds, which I've talked about. But it's every 30-second interval. So they're going to spawn at 0, they're going to spawn at 30, then 60, then 90, then 120, and then so on until the round ends. And then start again next round. So if any adherents are alive on a side, new ones are not going to spawn when the 30 seconds hits. So let's say I kill one dude on this side, and there's one dude just wailing on this, whatever, it happens. If I then kill this guy at 32 seconds into the encounter, then he's not going to respawn, him or his friend, they're not going to respawn until 60 seconds. So that can actually be used to your advantage. There's the first Master Clear by Coca-Cola actually used that to his advantage. He would sit there and blinding GL these guys until like 31 seconds and then kill them and then go into rooms and like kill knights, do whatever he had to do. So the opposite of that is also true though, which can be pretty bad. If you kill the adherents at 29 seconds, let's say, then 1 second later they're going to be respawning. So just keep an eye out, just try and have a really good feel for the timing of adherents. They all spawn at the same time, unless you kill every red bar on a side, but I wouldn't really be concerned with that. They all spawn at the same time, so if you hear the adherents over here spawning, then you know that the guys over here are spawning as well. If you don't see them, it probably means you killed them late, which is fine. And one thing I want to talk about is the artifact. So this season, the artifact is not that useful. We have Unstopped Scout, which is nice because Hung Jury's origin trait is actually really good. Stunning Recovery. It basically gives you resto when you stun a champ, so it's actually pretty nice. But other than that, everything's kind of useless. In the future, I would look for things like Solo Op. Anything that buffs your Dead Messenger damage even by a bit consistently and makes it one tap is huge, because then you don't have to run surges. Solo Op is just the easiest example. Blast Radius, which we also had last season, is a huge one. It gives you armor charge when you get rapid GL kills, so that's a pretty huge one to look at. A lot of the artifact mods don't really matter for acquisition, and it's pretty easy to tell if they'll affect the solo, because it'll basically say grenade launcher if it's going to be useful. If not, then it's probably not that useful. A quick little spiel on Master. I don't expect a lot of people to attempt this. It really doesn't change a whole ton from the normal encounter. Right now, you should be using Titan, Solar Titan with Ariana's and Ashen Wake. It's basically the same loadout as normal. You need Surges for Ariana to one-tap on Masters, but the other two classes I wouldn't really bother with. Unless we get something that buffs Dead Messenger damage, it can't one-tap on Master, even with 3 times Surges. You'd need like Radiant and stuff on top of it, so it's just not really good. So just stick with Titan with Ariana's on Ashen Wake, and you should be fine. The unstops just hurt a lot more, so you have to play your life. Spots like breaking line of sight and stunning unstops and coming down here to kill guys, let your health regen, just stuff like that becomes a lot more important. You also need to keep your roaring up. Alright, to end off this video, I want to break down a whole run of acquisition just so you have an idea of what the encounter is actually going to look like and the kinds of things I'm thinking about while I'm running. I'm only going to do one, just a Warlock run. I'll leave 3 runs of each class in the description so you can watch those. Not much changes between the classes. It's basically just the Glyph Keeper killing and stuff, so everything I'm thinking about basically stays the same between the 3 classes. So we'll get started. Just starting the encounter, and then we'll kill the adherents and grab our orb off these first guys. Pretty typical stuff. Nothing exciting. And then I'm gonna look at this right totem. First thing I'm gonna do. Not there, I'm checking spawns. We go left totem, I still don't see the knight. I actually did see the knight there. I'm not sure. I kinda like blitzed past it. You can see him here. You saw him at pillars. I'm just trying to shoot this orb. I see the call is on left totem there. So I just go kill this guy and then I'm gonna go back. And my room call is drink. Alright. So I'm just gonna kill this wave. And then I'm gonna go into drink. I'm probably gonna check right totem if I had to guess. Yeah, okay, so I see it's Traveler Knight there. We're just gonna kill these guys as fast as possible. And then I'm gonna come out of this room and go to left totem. That's what I should do. Don't sword those screams in your runs. Okay, yeah, so now my pathing is good. I'm gonna end on the left side, on the Traveler side, which is where I know the knight is. Alright, so he's not stairs. I was looking at that. He's not here. I'm looking at my radar against that wall, and I didn't see him there, so I know he's spawned. Here I'm just kind of killing time since the adherents haven't spawned yet. I'm going to look at mid totem when I go past it here, because it's the only totem I haven't got. So I see Traveler there. And I see him at the stairs, and I see Brain. I think I actually forget this call, and I'm gonna have to come back, which is bad, but it is what it is. I've bought myself some time. So we know the last night is stairs right now, and our last totem is mid. I'm just remembering that in my head. We're gonna kill these guys as fast as possible. Just getting these unstops off me because they're annoying. Just stun them. Kill everything, and then I'm gonna kill right, and I'm gonna check mid. Or I'm gonna kill this knight first, and then I'm gonna check mid. I'll probably kill some time. Yeah, I do a finisher here, just because the adherents are still a ways away from spawning. And my call is kill, so I'm gonna go left here, since I have to end up on Traveler side. Miss a couple shots, it happens. Just looking at damage numbers to make sure I actually killed them. This guy's still alive. Yep. And I'm going to go in and swap to my SMG, because now we're inputting. This is the third room, and we're going to kill the first guy, and then delay a bit, and then kill the second guy. So here it's the first symbol. It's Goss. And the adherents aren't attacking yet, so I have all the time in the world. They're not going to start attacking now. And here it's right totem. So I like to type the obelisks so that I don't have to remember it later. It just makes it easier. You don't have to do this if you're on like console or you don't have a keyboard, whatever. Just something I like to do. So here I was actually trying to get the second unstop stunned, but he didn't, so now he's going to harass me. This is kind of why you want to kill the unstops, but it worked out fine. I was just chilling in my well there. And we're going to kill this guy and just kill the last adherents that are still alive. Maybe I do a Finny, and then I'd go back up onto Bone. Try and get surges if I can. I'm not sure if I do or not. Oh yeah, there's an orb there. Yeah. So we're just staring at right totem. I see it's Traveler. Nice. So now I'm just going to kill this first wave and then go look for the knight on Traveler side. Miss a couple shots. It is what it is. Looking over there. You can, so I go straight to spawn here, but you can go against that big wall if you want first. It doesn't really matter. It was probably worth well skating to the spawn there, but it's not a big deal. So now I see I have grief. The reason I didn't check mid, so I didn't check mid totem when I flew past is because it still hadn't updated yet, and it's going to take a while for it to update and actually show the symbol, so I just figured I'd go straight to right. Now I have to open the door. So now I go to mid because it should be updated if it's here, and it's not here. I check that spawn behind me because I have time, and I'm checking the spawns around me. It's not there, and I'm going to check left totem. So it's pyramid, I know that. Going to grief, and I'm looking at my radar above me here. I see no ping, so I know the knight's not above me, so he's either hidden or he's beside Brain. I'm not sure right now, but he's one of those two spawns, because I've eliminated all the other spawns. So I know I have a Pyramid Knight here, but there's nothing I can do. I'm coming out of grief. I might as well kill these guys while I'm here. And now I see on my radar, it's hard to tell, but I'm looking at my radar while I'm sitting here at left side, and I see the knight is over beside Stop and Brain. You see it now. This outer ping, that means he's beside Brain. He's killing everybody, and then I'll go kill the knight. Beautiful. So now this, I'm just killing time, waiting for the totem to update. It's enter, awesome. Grab the orb, because I ran out of, I had to use my surges on a special finisher. Just Phoenix dive, because that unstop scared me. Here I go left because I'm going mid anyways, so I'm just going to fly past here and kill these guys. Read mid while I'm here, and I see it's pyramid. So here I probably should have weld or phoenix stove, but whatever. So I see the knight there. I know my last totem is mid. So we're going to get through this round just fine. And here I'm just going to do something a little weird. I'm going to turn around and kill these guys just to get my nade back. Because I have demo on my dead messenger. Just kill that guy and read mid while I'm here. And I see it's give. So it only flashed for a second there, but I know that's give. And I'm going to opt to only do one wave here, so I'm going to go in right now. Because I have everything I need. The adherents aren't going to spawn for a minute, so we're chilling. Swap to submission. And delay killing the second guy. So here it's the first symbol, so it's Goss again. I know it can't be right, so I'm going to check mid and left. Do a finisher. I have all the time in the world because the adherents still aren't attacking, and it ends up being mid. Just get this guy out of here because he's annoying. Do another finisher, might as well. And then we'll input. So I see it's Guardian there, so I'm going to only shoot Guardian and then just that last side. Then I'll just clear out these last few adherents, do some finnies, maybe kill an unstop or two. Then I'm going to go back up on a bone. So here the round started, so I'm just seeing if that obelisk totem updates, and it didn't, so I know it's not left. I check here, I know it's not right. So I'm just checking spawns. And here I'm looking at radar here, and I see the outer ping, so I know it's hidden. I also know it's mid totem, so I'm going to kill this guy, then go mid. There was no point in me reading left there because it still hadn't updated, so I might as well just check this. Gonna open commune. I'm gonna path left because I have to end up on Traveler side. I'm just checking spawns here. So I see it's Traveler there. So we'll just remember that. Traveler left side, and okay, so here you actually see me like do kind of a flick. You see on my radar, there's only two enemies that spawn up here. It's the Knight or the Unstop, and the Unstop hasn't spawned yet. So I know it's the Knight. So I know where the Knight is, and I know which totem he's at. So I just have to kill these guys. Now here, I think I'd go left because, yeah, I just have a lot of time. The adherents are only now just spawning, so I have all the time in the world to just have to go to this side first and just end on Traveler's side. Love killing from Crux. Use Crux a lot unless you have to read totems. So now I'm just going to go back left. Again, my right obelisk, my right totem hasn't updated yet, so I might as well just check this. It stops, so I'm going to go back right. My adherents are only now just spawning, so I have all the time in the world to do this. I see it's Pyramid Knight, so we'll just remember that. Pyramid and right totem. So I know it's not this guy beside me because I'm looking at radar, and I also know it's not Hidden Knight because he's nowhere on my radar to be seen. So it can only be Spawn, Pillars, or the one above Grief. Here I just go right because my adherents are only now just getting there, so I'm going to kill mid from Crux because why not? And I see him Pillars there. So now I'm going to kill this guy and go right, and that's my last room. It ends up being Give, which is already open. So I'm just going to go left because, well, Give is towards mid, so I might as well just kill these guys first. Miss a shot for fun, I guess. delay this kill half a second. And it ends up being the second guy, so it's Fleet. And I know the obelisk is left. That's why I type it. It's just hard to remember stuff from like 10 minutes ago when you're thinking about so much other stuff. And I see it's Witch Queen there, so it's Fleet Witch Queen. Because Witch Queen was glowing brighter than the rest. Gonna stand between the two sides. And boom. We're done. Just like that. I just changed character because I don't want to lose the checkpoint. So yeah, like I said, I'll leave other examples in the description. I'm not gonna comment on them, but there will be gameplay. Just try and apply everything. Like when you're watching, try and think about where I'm gonna go next and why I'm doing the things I do. I do make mistakes, obviously, sometimes, and so if something doesn't make sense, it could be that, but also try and think why I did that. Hopefully you guys appreciate the video. This is my first time attempting anything like this. I know my mic sucks, and the editing will probably also suck, but hopefully people were able to get something from the content of the video. I also want to thank PRS Nemesis for helping me get a bit of the background footage, and he also helped me proofread the script for this video. Also, shout out to all the people in the solo Discord. I'll leave a link to the solo Discord in the description. There's lots of people who will help you with any solo you need. And that's about it. Godspeed.